Hi everyone, welcome to the football show on the Global Sports Channel. This is your host David Barbash. It's week 32 of the Premier League. What a week it is. All talk about the proposed European Super League. We'll get to that. We're just me this week. We're missing my two co-hosts, Mike Sutton and Darren McCauley. Darren will hopefully be back on next week. Mike is taking a time out, really busy with his businesses, with the Huskies Activewear and also the Auckland Huskies. But hopefully we'll see Dazza back next week. Let's jump right into the action this week. Let's start it off on a Wednesday, and it was Champions League, more of that. It was the second legs. Borussia Dortmund at home to Manchester City. 2-1 win for City away from home. They win 4-2 on aggregate. Riyad Mahrez scoring a penalty in the 55th minute. And then, of course, after he had equalised, after Jude Bellingham had given Borussia Dortmund some hope. But Phil Foden in the 75th minute put the results beyond doubt. And again, a 4-2 aggregate win after this 2-1 win away from home for the citizens. Manchester City, they started Mahrez and De Bruyne and Foden, and Holland and Royce started up front for Borussia Dortmund. Holland, a couple of games in a row where have gone into a little bit of a cold spell. Hopefully he gets that back. He's had a great season so far. Liverpool were up next against Real Madrid. It was Liverpool at home. Of course, they had a lot to do to overcome a 3-1 deficit after the first leg. And it wasn't to be for Liverpool. A 0-0 draw at home. They lose 3-1 on aggregate. Salah, Firmino and Mane starting up front for Liverpool. They had 12 shots on goal, 4 on target. They had 56% possession. But Benzema, Asensio and Vinicius Jr., they started up front for Real Madrid. Bit of a disappointing game. I thought that Liverpool would get back into it with the amount of shots they had, but nothing really great to make a difference. And that was it. So Real Madrid, Man City, they move on, and it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good prospects for Man City and Real Madrid. Friday came around, and it was more Premier League action. It was Everton at home to Spurs. It was a 2-2 draw. Pretty good game. Well taken goals. Harry Kane, the first of his brace in the 27th minute. Gylfi Sigurdsson tied it up from the spot in the 31st minute. Then Sigurdsson again with his brace in the 62nd minute, only for Harry Kane to tie it up with his brace in the 68th minute. More possession by Everton, 53%. More shots on goal, 15 shots on goal to only 7 shots for Spurs. But it ended up a 2-2 draw, and really that was it for Jose Mourinho in terms of his last Premier League game. Surprise, surprise. That was probably the news of the week. Was, the disappointing nature of Spurs really giving up to Everton in terms of a 2-2 draw, even though they tied it, Harry Kane tied it. He limped off at the end. Newcastle were up on Saturday. The first game on Saturday was Newcastle. Shock 3-2 winners at home to West Ham. West Ham in the top 4, riding high, looking good lately. Newcastle really battling to stay out of the bottom part. They wanted to try and avoid dipping into that bottom 3, and they've done good these last 2 weeks, especially this game. 36th minute, an own goal by Diop puts Newcastle up. They get in the driver's seat when Joel Linton makes it 2-0 at 41st minute. Then all of a sudden, West Ham come back in the second half. Diop makes up for it. He scores an actual goal in the 73rd minute. Jesse Lingard, continuing his hot streak, tied it up in the 80th minute from the penalty spot. And this is after Craig Dawson of West Ham got sent off in the 36th minute. So for them to pull it back to 2-2 was an incredible turn of events. However, Joe Willock for Newcastle United wraps it up in the 82nd minute. And they take all 3 points, which were well needed. They only had 35% possession, but they had 9 shots on goal compared to 10 shots for West Ham. They did have 8 of those on target, and that was the key. Wolves were up next. They beat the hapless, relegated team of Sheffield United due to a Willian Jose goal in the 60th minute. 8 shots on goal for Wolves, only 4 shots on goal for Sheffield United. Brewster, McGoldrick, as much as they tried up front for Sheffield United, to no avail. They get relegated, while Norwich were confirmed that they would be promoted to the Premier League on the same day. Saturday continuing here, and we had the FA Cup semi-final. Chelsea upsetting, well, I'm not sure upsetting, but the favourites were Manchester City going in. However, we know Chelsea are a great cup team. They've done well historically in the cup. And Hakim Ziyech with the winner in the 55th minute. Interesting setup again. I have to disagree with Pep Guardiola's choice. He starts Torres, Sterling, De Bruyne and Jesus. I would not have started Sterling. I don't think he's been as good as of late. On the bench, he left Stones. He left Mahrez. He brought on Gundogan in the second half, as well as Foden, but to no avail. And of course, Ederson, he decided to, the keeper, to keep him on the bench and stick with the backup keeper that he's been using in the FA Cup. To be fair to him, I don't think you can blame him for the goal. Chelsea, a win, despite having less shots and less possession in the game. They go through to the final. Sunday came around and it was Arsenal 1-1 draw against Fulham. I wish Mike was on, because Mike is an Arsenal fan, and I was loving this one because 69% possession for Arsenal, 13 shots on goal, and 5 on target. And yet Fulham only had 1 shot the entire game, and it was on target. And Josh Maja from the penalty spot in the 59th minute put them up. Arsenal look like a team that just doesn't have that inspiration. They started Smith Rowe, they started Lacazette, they had Saka, Martinelli, and yet up pops, just when Fulham have won the game, in the 97th minute, up pops Eddie Super Sub Nketiah, who used to be with Leeds on loan a couple of seasons ago. And he steals the point for Arsenal. To me, I don't understand it. If you look at the VAR, you look at the replay, there was a player of Arsenal that was in an offside position. Maybe they say he wasn't interfering with play. I think he was. And really, Scott Parker was rightfully livid with the officials afterwards. And that could have really given Fulham the 3 points they need to try and pull themselves out of the bottom 3, or towards getting out of the bottom 3. And to no avail, they only walk away with 1 point. And Arsenal need to consider themselves lucky, despite having 69% possession. Arsenal, we'll talk about the Super League in a little bit, how they think that Arsenal or Spurs deserve to be in the Super League if it goes ahead, which I doubt if it will go ahead now with the developments of today. Next up was Darren's team, Daz's team, Manchester United, Man U, 3-1 winners at home to Burnley. They look good. They had 13 shots on goal to only 7 for Burnley. But Mason Greenwood, the last few weeks, I talked about this the last couple of weeks to Dazza and Mike, and I really like this kid, Mason Greenwood. He's getting goals in the last several games. This kid has a knack for scoring. Great one for the future. Love this kid. He got a brace, 48th minute, puts them up. Only for James Tarkowski to tie it up in the 50th minute for Burnley. Edison Cavani, who was subbed on in half-time, and he pops up after Greenwood had scored his brace in the 84th minute. He scores in the 93rd minute, Cavani, and makes it 3-1. They secure all 3 points. Man U remains in second place. Now, they started Pogba, Rashford, Greenwood, and also Fernandes, of course, and Pogba. And I don't know why, but Josh Brownhill started in place of Mate Vidra. And I don't get that one. Vidra's hot and cold, but I would have kept him because he has scored some goals recently, and Josh Brownhill started in his place, unfortunately, for Burnley, so they don't pick up any points. We go on to the last game on Sunday, and that was Leicester City 1-0 winners at home to Southampton. Southampton really on a poor run. They started Nathan Redmond and Ings up front, but on the bench they left. Really strange decision from Ralph. They left Shea Adams, they left Nathan Teller and Theo Walcott. I think maybe they could have played around with things a little bit more than waiting as long as they did to do some changes. Kelechi Iheanacho, you've heard me talk about him the last several weeks. I love this kid. I think he's great. He wins it in the 55th minute, and Leicester City beats Southampton. So they continue, Leicester City, on this cup run, and quite exciting for them. Iheanacho, Vardy, Perez, Gutierrez, and Tillman's up front for Leicester City. Now, my course game of the week played yesterday. My team, Leeds United, 1-1 draw at home to Liverpool. Liverpool started off the game brightly. They looked better in the early going. They had quite a few chances. Meslier with a terrific save off a shot that was dipping in, maybe going in off the underside of the bar, and he saved the day there. We fell a little bit asleep. We got caught napping with the ball over the top, and it was cut back in, I believe, from Trent Arnold to Sadio Mane, and he made no mistake from close in, from 6 yards in, and they went one up in the 31st minute. Again, a couple of mental errors from Meslier, but he made up from later in the game with some saves. But overall, I think, Leeds looked good in the second half. They came out with intent in the second half, a lot more aggressive. They looked fitter than Liverpool towards the end of the second half. They continued running. They continued with chances. Bamford went through on goal, was put through on goal, and he should have done better. But good closing down from the keeper, Alisson, to block out the shots from Bamford. Tyler Roberts had a chance from several yards out. A shot straight at the goalkeeper. I think he should have taken the shot a little bit earlier. And Bamford with a great shot that hit the bar. I think if he just maybe not hit it as hard and kept it a little bit lower, it would have gone in, and it would have maybe given a chance for all 3 points. But Diego Llorente, who was really solid as centre-back for Leeds, along with Pascal Struijk, They did a great job overall with the Liverpool attackers, especially in the second half. He pops up with a header in the equaliser in the 87th minute. 10 corners for Leeds versus 8 for Liverpool. 62% possession for Leeds, mostly dominant in the second half with the possession. Liverpool had the shot advantage, 13 shots to 9 shots. A decent game overall. Subs weren't great. Interesting choice from Liverpool, however. They start Mane, Firmino, and Jota, and keep Salah on the bench until the 71st minute. They thought maybe the setup, maybe the provider, Firmino, smart little passes, 1-2s in the box, the movements of Jota and Mane. I thought Jota in the first half was very influential for Liverpool. Same with Alexander-Arnold. I thought we coped better, Leeds did, in the second half. And a good point for Leeds. The last 2 weeks, we've beaten Manchester City and we've tied Liverpool. And we did have chances in the second half to win the game. But I think 1-1 draw is a fair result for Leeds, I should say. So my team, I think with healthy bodies back, it's going to be really good. Of course, today, it was Chelsea playing Brighton. Didn't get the final result there because we're recording as that's happening. And I believe they were starting today, Chelsea, Mason Mount, Ziyech, Havertz, Pulisic and Alonso. On the bench, however, they had Chilwell, Giroud, Werner, Hudson-Odoi and Azpilicueta. Moipe and Lallana on the bench for Brighton. They're starting Trossard and Welbeck up front for them. Now, let's go on to talk about a couple of different things. Super League, European Super League, the owners or the boards of several 12 teams around Europe have decided to get together and announce that they want to, with the money from offered up by JP Morgan, which is in the billions of dollars, they want to put a proposed Super League breakaway. It would be 3 teams from Spain, Atletico, Barcelona and Real Madrid. 3 teams from Italy, that would be AC Milan, Inter Milan, and of course Juventus. And then 6 teams from the Premier League, that would be Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Spurs. I think, if you listen to people like Gary Neville, who was absolutely livid on Sky about this breakaway and saying that clubs like Manchester United and Liverpool that started their clubs around the workers, the working class and the fans, and yet this isn't about the fans, it's about money. And I could see that maybe one part of it is maybe with COVID, the owners are thinking, hey, how do we make up money that's lost from COVID? But the flawed thinking about this is you break away from the participation in your respective leagues. You also break away from Champions League. You have no relegation. So as some of these managers, when it was announced, because a lot of them weren't informed of this proposed breakaway, like Jurgen Klopp was interviewed after the Leeds match. And some of the Leeds fans were really giving them stick, Liverpool, and, really, I think some of the Leeds players were wearing shirts talking about, about the fans and about being against this. But maybe it's not, as Jurgen Klopp said, maybe don't point the fingers at the manager or the players. You have to look at the ownership and the boards. And I don't think it's a good thing because as Pepe Guardiola said today, last minute development today, that Manchester City have decided to pull out because of the backlash from the fans and the media and the kickback from the UEFA and FIFA and potential deductions of points and potential bans. I know last minute that it looked like Manchester City and Chelsea have announced that they are no longer Manchester City and Chelsea. Yeah, Manchester City and Chelsea are no longer going to do this and are backing out. Abramovich, I think, pulled out based upon the fan reaction. Another big development today is the chairman of Manchester United, Edward Woodward, has announced that he'll be leaving at the end of the season, Manchester United. It's a big development today. Maybe this is part of the kickback on this one. Also, I find it interesting that PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, and Bayern Munich, Bayern Munich being the current holders of Champions League, decided not to go into discussions for potential being in the Super League, and PSG, who were finalists last year and just knocked out the holders, Bayern. You could argue that the two best teams, the holders in the Champions League, who were out without Lewandowski for this last round, you could argue that the two best teams left in the holders and the best team left in the Champions League are not going to be in it. And why would you have Arsenal, who are currently in 9th position, and Spurs, who are in 7th position, even be in the conversation for a Super League breakaway? They're already in turmoil right now. And I just don't think it's a fair thing, especially for teams like the West Hams, like the Leicesters that are in the top 6. I don't think it's good. But it's not good on a number of reasons, and mainly for the fans. I think it ruins the leagues. The no idea of having no relegation. It is about the money. It's not about competition. It's about the money, and it's not about the fans. So we'll see. We'll keep that on the docket for next week to continue and see what the developments happen with that. That being said, as well, after the game, Leeds, Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp was very angry, I think, at the Leeds fans, as well as there were T-shirts that the Leeds United players, and Meslier was wearing one of them, I think, in warm-up, that he said that Leeds actually put these shirts in the dressing room, the away dressing room, for Liverpool players to wear or see. And so, I'm not sure I agree with that move on Leeds, but I understand the sentiment. I'm against it. I'm sure most of the fans around the world are against it. We'd like to hear from you. You can send me an email on your comments, david@globalsportschannel.com, and love to get your input from the fans around the world about what your opinion is of the Super League breakaway. I think in the next 24 hours to 48 hours, this thing will fall apart, especially since Edward Woodward's announced departure, but definitely because of Manchester City and Chelsea now pulling out, two of the biggest draws from the English perspective in the major competitions around the world. And again, no PSG, no Bayern either. Let's keep an eye on that. Let's look at the tables as well. So at the end of week 32, you have Manchester City played 32 in first place. They've won 23, drawn 5, lost 4, scored 67 goals, 23 given up, 44 goal difference. Points, let's do points, 74 points. Second place, Manchester United, 32 points. 32 played, I should say. If they were in 32 points, they'd be in trouble. Man United played 32. They're on 66 points in second. Leicester played 31. They're on 56 points. Chelsea played 32, 55. But the goal difference of 19. West Ham have played 32, also on 55 points, but a goal difference of 11. Sixth place, Liverpool, courtesy of the 1 point they got by drawing Leeds. They're on 53 points, only 2 points behind in sixth place. So only 2 points separate fourth place, that critical fourth place, and sixth place. Difference of Champions League and Europa League. So let's see what happens. Now, seventh place, Spurs, 32 played. They're only 2 points behind. 3 points behind, I should say, in 50 points. But they're only 3 points behind, one win behind, and one loss from the team ahead of them. And they will be right back in it. Eighth place, Everton, only played 31 points at 49 points. So they could win, make up a game, and they could get back into the equation. Arsenal and Leeds, both on 46 points in 9th and 10th. Now, bottom three. Relegated were Sheffield United, played 32, only 14 points. They're officially relegated. West Bromwich Albion, 31 played, 24 points. It can be tough for them to get out of it, but not out of it yet mathematically. Fulham, they could have used those 3 points. They played 33 and they're only on 27 points. So I think they're the West Brom and Fulham are the favourites to get relegated, but don't rule out Fulham. They showed on the weekend that they are a battling team, and I think they'll keep fighting, see what happens there. Another great week, guys. We'd love to hear from you again. You can check us out on www.globalsportschannel.com. You can also check us out on iTunes and listen to us on the podcast. You also can check out our developments of the platform we're building called loveathletes.com. And as we try to build a platform that will connect athletes and coaches and the fans all around the world, and it will connect them because we want to bring crowdfunding for the athletes that are not in the 1%. We want to bring support for and concern and attention to mental health issues, the lack of funding, the lack of good jobs, the lack of investment, the lack of retirement funds, the lack of proper coaching, and lifestyle coaching as well for athletes, as well as coaches. Again, the 1% make it, the others have a tough time with mental health and suicides. And 2,000, as mentioned before on previous broadcasts, 2,000 athletes in the US in the last year and a half have committed suicide. Over 2,000 athletes committed suicide in the US. So it is a growing problem in sports that the people other than in the 1% of top athletes are struggling. They're struggling mentally. They need support. They'd love to get it from support from fans like yourselves, support from organizations like ourselves, and we intend to do that. So check us out. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and keep loving sports, keep loving life, and keep embracing your health as well and family. Take care and see you soon. Bye.